Episode 3, EV Myths. In this episode, I want to briefly go over some of the misinformation that's out there on electric cars. I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I do actually believe the oil companies are behind some of this flood of negative misinformation I see out on the internet. Myth number 1, price. People all over are complaining that the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Volt are too expensive. Well, let's examine that. The Nissan Leaf will cost around $32,700, and the federal tax credit brings it down to around $25,280. The Chevy Volt starts at $41,000, and after the tax credit costs around $33,500. Now, let's compare it to some other very popular vehicles that I see all over the road every day. Some popular cars, like the Nissan Altima starting at $19,900, or the Toyota Camry, or the Honda Accord, or the Ford Mustang, the Ford Taurus, or some larger vehicles like the Ford Explorer starting at $29,280, or the Chevy Tahoe, or the Chevy Suburban, or the Cadillac Escalade at a whopping $63,445. So, as you can see, as far as buying a new car goes, these electric cars are actually very reasonably priced. But wait, now factor in these cost savings on the Leaf. There's no gas, no oil changes, no yearly emissions inspections, fewer brake shoes, no spark plugs, engine belts, air filters, or fuel filters, etc. About the only maintenance you'll have is changing the tires. So do the math. I came up with a savings about $2,700 per year, or over the life of a 5-year car loan, that's a savings of $13,500. Now that's assuming gas prices don't go up, which we know they will, which makes the effective cost of ownership of a Leaf around $11,780. Now, you tell me, which vehicle costs more? Still not convinced? Then tell me what the cost is to the world for all of the wars that have been fought over oil. And what is the environmental cost of oil spills and the money spent to clean it up? What is the cost to our health from air pollution? And what is the cost of funding terrorists supporting nations by purchasing so much of their oil? And what will the cost be of dealing with global warming? And what is the cost to our economy, which is dependent upon importing foreign oil? Myth number 2, trading a tailpipe for a smokestack. The argument goes something like this. An electric car uses electricity, which is produced in a smog-belching power plant. Okay, I don't have time to go into all the scientific details, but this is just nonsense. It's been proven over and over again that even if an electric car is powered by coal, it is still cleaner than a gas car. But the truth is, that never happens. In the United States, only 22.5% of our electricity is generated by coal. The rest is nuclear, natural gas, wind, and solar. All of these things are much cleaner than coal. Myth number 3, the electric grid can't handle all of these electric cars. Okay, so if this argument holds any water, then we should have said the same thing 15 years ago about cell phones. We should have just told the cell phone companies that they should just give up because there's no way their infrastructure could handle everyone having a phone. Well, guess what? When the cell phone demand grew, so did the infrastructure. The same is true for the electric company. They'll grow with the demand. It isn't like everybody's going to be changing to an electric car overnight. Myth number 4, nobody will buy these cars because you can't go on road trips. Okay, this really isn't a myth. It has some truth to it. But first thing is, eventually you will be able to go on road trips when the charging infrastructure is developed over the interstates. But for now, I look at it like this. If I want to take a road trip, I'll take a different car, or I'll rent a car if I have to. It's sort of like saying I have to buy a pickup truck because of the odd chance that I might need to haul a mattress, or that I need a 4x4 in case I need to go off-road, or that I should have a bus in case I need to carry a whole bunch of people around, or that I should own my own cement truck in case I need to pour some concrete. Okay, the point is, I buy a car based on my daily needs. When those other unexpected needs present themselves, I can always borrow or rent another vehicle to handle that. So those who complain about the road trip issue need to ask themselves how often they take these trips. If you take a road trip every weekend, then maybe you do need to wait for charging infrastructure to buy an electric car, or just settle for a plug-in hybrid for now. Myth number 5. Okay, so you don't have to buy gas, but your electricity bill will go through the roof. Okay guys, this is just crazy. Most electric cars cost between 1 and 2 cents per mile to operate. A typical gasoline car costs around 10 cents per mile. So that means if you were spending $300 a month on gas, you'll only be spending a mere $60 a month on electricity. The good news is that these figures were based on the current price of gas, but we've seen over the last few decades that gasoline continues to trend upwards in price. Electric rates are far more stable. That means 10 years from now, it's likely that the cost difference of operating a gas and electric vehicle will be even more dramatic. Myth number 6. These cars will be all over the sides of the highway dead. Okay, first of all, I have not yet met anyone who drives an electric car who has run out of power and been stranded on the side of the road. However, I'm sure it will happen to people on occasion, but it happens all the time to people in gas-powered cars, and nobody blames the technology for the problem. Besides, an electric car has a gauge telling you exactly how many more miles you have remaining before you're out of power. So most gas cars have a little gas gauge needle that's very ambiguous as to whether you can go another mile or another 50 miles. So people will take the risk hoping they have enough gas. But if I'm driving down the interstate and the car starts beeping at me telling me I only have 5 miles of power left, I'm going to get off the highway and find somewhere to park and hopefully recharge. Of course, that would never happen to me because I wouldn't attempt to go on a longer trip than my vehicle's range. So I seriously doubt you'll see many of these on the side of the road. Myth number 7, the batteries cost too much and will need to be replaced every few years. Well, Nissan is going to be offering an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on the batteries. But the thing is, that's often overlooked, is that these batteries are expected to last the lifetime of the vehicle. Years after the warranty is up, the batteries will still continue to work, but the range may be reduced. So instead of being able to go 100 miles on a charge, you might only be able to do 60 or 70. But unless you're planning to keep the car for 10 years or more, the only people who really need to worry themselves about that are people who are planning to buy a used electric car. Myth number 8, toxic batteries. Some people say that hybrid and electric vehicles do more damage to the environment because the batteries use toxic chemicals. That's just not true. The two most popular chemistries that used are nickel metal hydride and lithium iron phosphate. Neither of these are particularly dangerous to humans and can be recycled. Did you know that somewhere around 98% of all regular car batteries are currently recycled for the lead? As these hybrid and electric vehicles age, there is little doubt that the batteries will be recycled as well because the materials in them are too valuable to let them go to waste. So these are the top myths I have to deal with on a daily basis. Yes, there are others, but they'll have to wait for a later episode. Until then, signing off.